Welcome to Bare Bones. With your host, Danny Meehan and Dr. Mason West.
Welcome into this episode of Bare Bones. As always, I am Mason West, and joining me today is co-host Danny Meehan. Danny, how you doing?
What's up, Mason? I'm good, man. How about you? Everything good?
Not too shabby. I am swamped normally at work, and then I lucked out, got to go home a little early, so that was cool to be able to chill at home with the dogs for an hour instead of just rushing on, throwing the pod up, and just going.
It's nice to be able to collect yourself sometimes. So
yeah. And also, it's nice that we get to dive in and talk about a Bears team that actually won a game last week and actually might win a couple more going forward after that performance. There's a couple cool things we get to talk about in the chart review.
There is. Let's get into it, shall we?
So first off, just get this out of the way. Caleb Williams named NFC Player of the Week for his performance, 19 for 28, 298 yards, 4 touchdowns. And Ben Johnson specifically talked about that a little bit in the pressers this week, saying kudos to him. He won NFC Offensive Player of the Week, and he was kind of over it. Put him in front of the room, and as quote unquote, he wasn't having it. That seems pretty cool by Caleb, in my opinion. To I was hopefully he reveled in it a little bit, but seems like he just kind of got back to work.
Yeah, it seems very much like that, as he probably should. I mean, I don't want to dismiss the victory in any way, but in a way, this game was probably the perfect palate cleanser for 2 weeks that when you should have beaten the Minnesota Vikings and 2 you had your doors blown off, so you kind of had a reset game this past week against Dallas, who's reeling. CeeDee Lamb went down. Brian never feels like he's totally over his head to this point. And it's just like, when you're in the middle, you should beat the teams you should beat, lose the teams you should lose to, and sometimes you'll get surprised either way, kind of thing. And it feels like they did what they were supposed to do this Sunday, despite the vibes going into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I was not sure, and we talked about this in the preview show for that game. We weren't really sure what that would look like. I mean, Dallas had a top 5 in terms of EPA and a lot of other, analytics. Offense, we knew their defense was not good. Would this be I think I directly asked you the question, would this be a shootout that the Bears could pull off because they had the last shot, or, would their defense be able to step up? Turned out it was the latter. Defense actually did well. Yes, CD got hurt. But, you can only play who you're playing. And at the end of the day, the Cowboys only scored 14 points, and the Bears offense did really well. Next part, Ben Johnson also said that he was impressed with when it comes to Caleb Williams right now, that he's a quick study, says his comfort level is growing, and we can grow as an offense. I would think that's another layer that is important to this, knowing that out of training camp, Ben specifically said, we're going to parse stuff down as much as we can, figure out what Caleb's good at, then we're going to parse stuff down, and then ultimately add stuff in little by little. And the fact that Ben feels comfortable enough with where Caleb is at that they can add little by little at this point and continue to grow that playbook, so that hopefully when you're hitting, November, December, when you are playing some of these better teams, because let's be real, the beginning of the schedule is not nearly as bad as the end of the schedule as it is for the Bears. Snoop Found Poop is in the chat. What's up, guys? What's up, Snoop? Nice to see you in here. So Danny had to drop out, I think, a bit of a connection error, so we're just going to keep rolling through some of these bits of news just because it's good. We got to keep the show rolling here. Boom, boom, boom. And looks like he might be back. Give us 1 second. And he's back. Hey, Danny. Can you hear me? His silence says he can't hear me. As he glares at the screen. Wondering when he will talk. If he'll talk.
Okay.
Can you hear me
I don't
now?
know what just happened there. My computer just did like a small restart on its own apparently and decided, hey, it's time to reset.
Gotta
Don't know
love
why.
that. I think we've all been there where all of a sudden it's just like, why the heck is this choosing to restart now? I didn't say yes to this. What are we doing?
It literally just went black and immediately just populated the Windows thing. Like, oh, okay. guess I got to scramble to type.
It's all good. The Bears needed a palate cleanser, a little bit of a reset, and so did you. So, and your computer specifically.
Specifically, my computer. Yeah.
All right, just two more things to hear before we head to our training room stuff. Bears special teams coordinator Richard Hightower talked about Luther Burden, specifically saying, I like that Luther is fearless and he's never satisfied. He was texting the night of really upset about the kickoff return he had and seeing how he could be better at that. He's hungry. I think this is important just because, in terms of the narrative, I mean, going a little bit into the draft and then on day one when Luther fell out of the first round, that there's this conversation about, you know, was he a team first kind of guy? We saw the drop off that happened from between 2 years. We know that quarterback talent and all that around him was not necessarily great his final year at Mizzou, but there were questions that were brought up, and that's one of the reasons why he fell to the second round. But everything that we've seen, whether it's early the blocking he's done, whether it's what we hear from the coaches and what it seems like in terms of what he's put into this, that he is a team first, hard work kind of guy.
Yeah, it's important, and sometimes it makes you wonder, had he gone higher, if he would have almost like rested on his laurels kind of thing, or if like the slide may have like, because a slide I feel like can go one of two ways, right? It can either do what maybe it's doing to him and it's igniting a fire under him, or it can make you pout and kind of sit there and be mad and be a petulant child. It seems like he's taking the correct message from this and truly making the teams that pass on him pay, as it were, with his work ethic and his ability now on the field. Like, the guy had over 120 yards receiving and a touchdown. So like, and plus what he's trying to do better on special teams, like everything coming from the Luther Burden part of this, blocking, the production last week, the want to in the special teams game and the blocking game, like it's all speaking to a kid that maybe got the right messaging from something that went against him coming out of Mizzou.
And you see that all the time in this league, and one in particular, not that, I mean, I think this guy was already built a little bit different that way, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? I mean, he picked his numbers specifically to highlight the number of receivers taken before him. His girlfriend actually got the numbers wrong, so that he's actually off by one on that. But, the players, certain players are wired in a way, well, like you're saying, they'll take that and they'll use it as fuel and to specifically try to prove the haters wrong, and then other ones will fold and crumble. And I'm happy that it seems like, at least for right now, Luther is doing the first part, where he is really using this to elevate his game.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, last bit here. Dennis Allen spoke on Tremaine Edmonds today as well. Dennis Allen said, he's a guy we're going to need to count on to play at a very high level. Allen said that when a team is dealing with injuries, and we're going to talk about those injuries in a second here, not only do those replacements need to play at a high level, but you need some of those veterans to play even better. It's no secret that Tremaine Edmonds hasn't necessarily been bad, but he has not lived up to the contract that he was given. It was a hefty contract, and he needed to play better. He got 2 picks last week, and he was all over the field. And the question I guess is, can that continue, or was it more of a was in the right place at the right time kind of thing for interception here and a tackle there?
I mean, I feel like the truth is probably, as it always is, somewhere there in the middle. Like, do I think he's the player that we saw this past week on a regular basis? No, there's too much of a large sample size over the course of his he spent 5 years in Buffalo, and this is his 8th season. Like, he's not some like young player anymore. So I think to say like he turned some corner, no, but he had a good game, and the ability is always there for him in terms of the physical attributes for him to be a preemptive, impactful linebacker. It's the ability to do it on a week-to-week basis for him that's always been frustrating. So this past week, I think it was a combination of everything: the offense scoring points, the DD Lamb going out, the Dallas being an unequivocal train wreck of a team right now. Like, and everything was going well from the word go, from like the very first drive where Tyreek Stevenson ripped the ball from Javonte Williams' hands before going out of bounds. Like, it felt like this week was very much a perfect storm of just getting the mojo back to like at least the middle versus just where it was at going into this week, where it was like everything is awful. Every morning I'm waking up and stepping on a Lego. Can I please stop stepping on Legos? I would like this to stop.
And to that point, like you said, you're hoping at least for somewhere in the middle compared to where he was. For example, first in order, and from weeks 1 to 3, his combined tackles were 7, 7, and then 15 against the Cowboys. So that's a massive jump, and something that I don't know if that's going to necessarily stick for. If you look at previous years, even starting in 2023, his first year with the Bears, he had 113 tackles, 110 tackles, and this year he is already up to 29. So he's on pace to beat those numbers. Is there a little bit of is that a slight improvement because of the system in Dallas Allen? You're hoping so. Now it's not going to be something astronomical, but like you said, you're hoping it's playing more to the contract that he is given, and especially with, as Dennis Allen put, the number of people you have out with TJ Edwards probably going to miss the next game. We'll talk about that in a second, but Tremaine has to continue that level of play, because while Noah Sewell is a fun bright spot, like I didn't think he'd play as well as he's played, he's still a very limited player on the field, and you see that every week.
Yeah, he can't turn.
He's a straight line. I'm gonna go get that ball, and that's pretty much it.
I'm gonna kill this ball. Let's go do this.
All right, awesome. Training room roundup. Have been teasing this a little bit. Well, teasing would hopefully be for a good thing. This is not really that great. We are talking about the injuries the Bears and the Raiders are dealing with. The Bears is quite long. You had 5 people, who did not participate on Thursday, just to knock it out right away. I mean, TJ Edwards, Kyler Gordon, Colson Loveland, I would not expect to play against the Raiders. Edwards and Gordon, with those soft tissue issues, you have to just manage that. You need more time. You can't rush this back, or else you get a, Jalen Johnson issue. When it comes to Colson Loveland, I don't have as much info on that. We just know hip, but he left under his own power. It's nothing major. I would still expect him to miss it, to be honest, though.
Honestly, just with a lot of these, like Kyler, TJ, just at a certain point, your bye is next week anyway.
Yes.
Just get through the long week and just get right. Keep doing your rehab, your whatever it might be that you're doing to get yourself right, and just get healthy. I would almost say the same thing for Colston. Don't hurt yourself, especially when you're not even technically the starting tight end. Like, your role could increase more down the line. Why risk getting hurt, especially in a game that, at least on the surface, feels fairly winnable against a rebuilding Raiders team?
And that's why, at the end of the day, you took a Luther Burden. That's why at the end of the day, you're not trading a DJ Moore anytime soon. You go from certain positions being a strength to a weakness very easily with injuries. Yet Colson Loveland was having a really nice start to that game against the Cowboys. I would have loved to see what he could have done throughout the entire game. However, you still handled business because you had Rome Odunze balling out. You had DJ Moore doing what he needed to. DeAndre Swift doing the best he can with what he can do. Cole Kmet obviously had the touchdown and was playing well. So you have enough weapons that you should not have to rush Colson Loveland back. The two I didn't mention who also didn't participate were Grady Jarrett and Darnell Wright. I did mention those right away because I think there's a chance they could still play. This to me is more, we know what you guys can do. Let's give you as much time off as possible, and we'll check back in on Friday, potentially even more of a game time decision on Sunday for both of those two.
Yeah, that they both feel much more game time. I would almost rather Jarrett not play too if he doesn't need to, honestly.
I would agree with that. I mean, just seeing
But
how limited he can be with how that knee is, I'd rather you have fresh, spry legs than having to worry about managing his knee.
mhm.
Darnold Wright's a different thing, though. I mean, you're having to go against Max Crosby. If he can go, elbow's tough. I mean, again, there's no specifics on what it is, but let's just say it was worst case, it was a subluxation that went back in. I mean, the elbow is like the knee of the upper extremity where it's all about stability and having to transfer force. It'll be really hard if you're not at a decent percentage to play against a guy like a Max Crosby. So while I'd like him to play, the safer bet in terms of also long-term health for him might just be to have Theo Benedict back out there.
I agree with that assessment.
All right. Other ones too, limited participations for DeAndre Swift, Jalen Jones. Wouldn't worry about those. They should be playing. Cole Kmet was back to full, and DeMarco Jackson also back to full. Was at full, so don't worry about any of them. Raiders side, Brock Bowers, full participant. This will be interesting because Brock definitely has not looked like Brock Bowers. With that knee injury he had, he can't cut as well. The fact he was full though makes you believe that pop might be back, and I mean the good pop for him, not the oops my knee pop.
Yeah, I would guess Brock is back. I would guess Jeremy Chin is playing. It depends. I don't know. I haven't been following the concussion protocol for Mayer coming into this game, but if you're still DNP as of Wednesday going into Thursday or today, I would not be shocked if he misses, which would be another highly drafted offensive weapon that isn't playing, especially after he hadn't played really all of last year either, with personal issues, I believe is what it was. But
yeah, and I would expect that if he had a chance of playing, he has to be. Well, this is also Wednesday for the Raiders. Theirs is not out for Thursday, but I think he also was a DNP today, to be honest. But he would have to be limited on Friday to have a chance. Now, in the past, I remember there was like a Bears-Packers game, I think it was 2 years ago, that I believe one of their linemen was like DNP the entire week and then still played that weekend. That's also just part of the whole shamness that the NFL concussion protocol is, if we're being honest. But I would expect he needs to be limited on Friday.
That's what my guess would be as well. But I don't know how the Raiders are handling things.
Yeah, if you're doing it right, he shouldn't be. But that's a whole other conversation. All right, so Raiders are going into this pretty healthy. All right, training room roundup wrapped up. We have a quick break here, and we're going to come back and discuss this game against the Raiders.
Ooh. Okay. Crisp. Whoa.
That's really good.
That one's really good too.
That was good.
That's like, it's so refreshing. Like, it's so good to have right before we go play.
And it has
it really quenches your thirst.
And it has the right amount of bitterness where it kind of
it's like not too sweet, not too bitter. That's what you're saying with the last one.
I like that. Mango
This one
is my favorite.
This one's the best. This one's the best.
That one. Guys, we're gonna have to argue over this. It's that one.
No, this one's so good. This one's so good.
I used to drink kombucha.
This one is good.
5 a.m. before practice every day because it woke me up and it made me feel good before practice.
Kombucha is a premium performance-focused kombucha crafted specifically for athletes and active individuals. This revitalizing beverage blends the traditional benefits of kombucha with nutritional enhancements to support energy, hydration, and recovery. Made from organic teas and infused with natural electrolytes, it offers a delicious and effective solution to maintain a peak performance. Better athletic performance, increased nutrient absorption, improved wellness, and improved cognitive stamina. Use code BEARGUTCHECK for 15% off your order. Knee-jerk reaction. This is one hot take going into next week. What do you got, Danny?
My knee-jerk reaction, honestly, is coming from the other side. You're in Las Vegas. Your secondary is still banged up, it seems. My knee-jerk reaction is with how the Raiders have been slinging it around the yard without much care in the world. Gino might have a really good day. A really good day. And I don't know how I feel about that.
I could see that. I mean, Gino is at the end of the day like a professional NFL quarterback, and he's going to get his. We saw that with the Seahawks, even though he was behind a horrendous offensive line. We're seeing that to an extent still going on here, even though, and we'll dive into this more later. Terrible offensive line, and if Brock Bowers is in fact healthy, that changes what that offense looks like.
Yep.
Mine is that Bears should be able to continue to contain Ashton Genty. I know some people are really worried about him just because he is still very good. Obviously, anyone who's listened to the show, I was pounding the table as Genty as an option if you were to be in a position that made sense to draft him. But going into week 3, Brandon Thorne at Brandon Thorne NFL, follow him, he's awesome, had the Raiders offensive line ranked as 30th in the NFL. There are some weird dynamics going on. Alex Kappa got the nod over Jackson Powers Johnson, who had seemingly recovered from a concussion that he had suffered previously. I mean, the Bengals O-line was terrible last year. They cut Kappa, yet the Raiders felt the need to sprint to sign him for $5 million. Makes no sense. PFF supports this, that with their left guard ranked 56th, their center's 20th, their right guard 67th, and the right tackle is 41st amongst all players at those positions. Their only shining light is Colton Miller at left tackle, and he's pretty dang solid by their grading at 2nd overall. Don't get me wrong, Genty has his own issues, but he has no help. But at the same time, he ranks 3rd worst in the league in rushing yards over expected per attempt, according to Next Gen Stats, with negative 0.94 amongst those with a minimum 20 attempts. So he's not even necessarily getting the yards available to him. Some of that is also just because when you're thinking you're going to get smacked in backfield every single time, like that matters. The thing that's crazy, in terms of percent of rushing yards to come after contact, Genty is an unfathomable 101%. like literally all of his yards plus somehow extra yards are coming after contact for him. So this offensive line is pretty terrible.
And I was going to say, I think I saw some metric that on average he's being met in the backfield. So not most of the time when he touches the ball, he is being met before he ever touches the line of scrimmage. That is insanity.
And I know the Bears rushing defense, and that's why people have been worried it's not been good this year. It wasn't good last year. But you should meet in the middle at least, where you're not going to be blown out by Genty because again, this line is just trash. It's not good. To be perfectly honest, something really honest, I'll just run into this. I've been very critical of DeAndre Swift, watching him last week against Dallas, and then also, I know this is silly, but hearing his mic'd up and just like how he interacts with his teammates. Seeing the effort he's putting out there on things like pass protection, things like that, definitely make me feel a certain way differently about DeAndre Swift. That being said, I still need some more insert running back 2 here in my life. I'm done having the whole, obviously, like Roshan Johnson conversation until he comes out of the doghouse that I don't know why he's in there. But he just plays special teams at this point. No one knows really why. And Monangai is not necessarily crushing it by any means, but he definitely gives me give him time to wear down the defense kind of back where you got to keep giving him the ball. And I know, last week he had that one run where he ran essentially backwards for about 7 or 8 yards there, which was not good. But I do just think you do need someone who's going to fall into if you block for 4, you get me 4. If you block for 3, you get me 3. And because right now, still, even with the efforts, DeAndre Swift doesn't do that. And you have to be able to stay in front of the chains.
Yeah, DeAndre is. I think we've learned to this point, this will probably be my knee-jerk reaction, is that we need to expect they need to keep adapting the running game to what the strength of what we'll call a strength of the running game is. They were primarily zoned the first week, then they became like 1/3 gap, 2/3 zone week 2, and now they were effectively a 50-50 split this past week in terms of running style plays that were called. And I think that just is them trying to cater to what DeAndre Swift can and can't do. DeAndre Swift does not have vision. He does not know where he's going. He does not know what he's looking at. And in order to run outside or inside zone, there has to be a level of read what's set up, cut back, and go. DeAndre Swift can't do that, apparently, and seemingly has never been able to do that. But if you run gap, which is like duo and pin pull and, power and all that stuff, like you can just tell him, hey, this is where you have to go this way.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier for him to do given his skill set or lack thereof, I guess. So credit to the coaching staff and Ben Johnson for recognizing that,
Yeah.
but they need to keep leaning into that and figuring and making this run game work, because credit to them, they are trying everything from reverses to DJ Moore in the backfield, who really, I wouldn't be shocked if going forward DJ becomes more and more your running back 2 behind DeAndre Swift. But it's not been a pretty. They're trying to gum and toothpick this running game together, and I'm pretty sure I said the same thing last week going into Dallas. They are trying literally everything: reverses, wide receivers in the backfield. Like they ran a flea flicker, which obviously ended up being a awesome throw, but they are trying literally everything to just make this thing work. And it's clear that it's not going to be a point of strength on this team.
And we've said this in past shows. It doesn't have to be super strong. You don't need to run the ball to set up the play action game. But there are things that come with the run game. I mean, look at that 19 play drive where most of it was runs. That stuff still matters. And again, credit to DeAndre, because there was successful runs on there. He had a couple of explosive ones in the game. Like you said, it's just not a strength of this team, and it really won't be all year probably until free agent or more likely rookie. Hopefully, it gets brought in next year to be hopefully the thunder to the lightning that DeAndre is. Well, ain't this humorous? What do you have for this one?
Ain't this humorous is still just. I don't think the defense played particularly well last week, and still they only allowed 14 points. Obviously, a lot of that is from just 2 interceptions by Edmonds, a strip or forced fumble by Tyreek Stevenson.
I was gonna say, what do you need them to do better than they did last week? I mean, a lot of red zone stands. I mean, that they did.
No, I mean, I think last week I think last week is probably the best it's going to get this year in terms of how it should look, because they just lack talent. Like, obviously, it can potentially look better in the secondary on a down-to-down basis because you're going to be theoretically getting Kyler Gordon back, which I think will be a huge boost.
Yeah,
but
you get him back, you get TJ Edwards back.
I think you're going to be seeing a lot of this become like your best case scenario is going to be a lot of bend but don't break, which isn't the design of this defense, but it might be what they have to default to in order for them to get their best possible outcomes, which I think is kind of funny given what we were expecting them to look like coming into the season.
Well, we did see too that Dennis Allen shifted where he went from running just almost as much cover 2 as he was running and definitely reduced that. So, I definitely called out Dennis Allen a bit last week episode because that was a problem. You didn't have the horses to do that. So you're just hoping that I know CD was out and that matters. And he was only there for 1 1/3 of a drive, but still that one drive, Dallas, they were able to contain Dallas. I mean, it was because of a strip, but that still matters. And I mean, Dak Prescott is still Dak Prescott, and Javonte Williams has found, it seems like a bit of another gear, up 2 years now removed from his pretty dramatic knee surgery that he had. So do I think that they're all of a sudden going to hold the Ravens when they play them to 14 points? God, no. But at least for these bottom to middle tier teams, like that's solid. I'll take that for now.
Right. And I was saying it was just humorous because it's like I was expecting them to get gashed. They did what they were supposed to do. And again, I've said it on the show more times than I care. Turnovers are not a game plan. You cannot plan for 3 turnovers.
No, it's a fickle thing.
It is not a way to go about your defensive life. It came out that way. It worked out. You held them to 14 points. it was a great outcome. I still don't think if you were to objectively watch it, you wouldn't sit here and say this was a kick-ass defensive outing. They were fine. They did what they had to do. And I think a lot of it came down to the fact that you caused timely turnovers and the offense was good. Like objectively, the offense was good against the Cowboys defense might be the get right unit of the league, where if you're having a bad week, you better hope you're playing the Cowboys because you should just thrash them. That defense is awful.
It is quite ungood. Well, my length is humorous was I think there's a chance that this game can also be decided on special teams. The game that the Raiders had last week was 10-10, part of the way into the second quarter until there's some special team snafus by the Raiders. The Commanders had 245 total yards and a touchdown on returns, 118 kick return yards with a long of 93, and 127 punt return yards with a 90-yard return for a touchdown. Devin Duvernay, on the side note of that too, Devin Duvernay's been fine, but I really do hope Luther Burden gets more return opportunities. Now, obviously, like you want him to be a part of the offense, but he's just so dang explosive that having him be a part of that, especially punt return or kick return unit, either one really, and playing that field position battle, I think would be very important.
I could agree with that. I mean, Duvernay has been
like fine.
Acceptable.
Yeah,
acceptable, fine. I get it. I think it's a fine line to walk, though, because like you and I discussed earlier leading into the season, I feel like Luther Burden's got a lot of the don't let me get on the field energy coming into this, and I think he showed why last week. And I feel like, not that I don't appreciate and value special teams, but I feel as though it'd be a weird way to get him potentially nicked up and hurt for a guy who is probably so meaningful, not just for your offense, but for your future. And I don't know how much I want him out there, especially when you have an acceptable level of play, especially against the Raiders. That I'm also factoring this specific matchup into it when you should be able to theoretically beat them without needing big special teams plays.
I just look at it too as a way to also keep the guy engaged. Like, depending on the game plan,
that's a way to look at it too. That is a way to look at it.
Like get your layup and then your threes go in. I know that you like to talk about. I mean, just as an example, he's had 6 kickoff returns and he's 1, 2, 3, 4. He's 5th in average return yards with 29.5. And so it's like, and this is hard for me to sometimes even to say, like, I know as the physical therapist and the, hey, we got to keep people healthy thing. Football is a sport. And yes, he could get dinged up on a kick return or a punt return. I mean, he could also get dinged up stepping out of his bathtub or running a route where he gets, blindside blocks when he's trying to do like a chip block.
Right. He could be running a nothing route where the ball's not even designed to go for him, and his leg could just go out from under him. Anything can happen.
We literally saw, Najee Harris was just in the backfield starting to run forward to get a handoff, and he blew his Achilles out. And so I'm more of the, look, football's a sport. You know what you're signing up for. And if you have to do something that can help your team win, that's where I'm going.
I get it. No, I understand that perspective.
All right. We have another break here. Be back. All right. We have merch. First and foremost, I'm throwing a QR code up here on the screen. If you scan that QR code, it'll bring you directly to the merch site. If you want to go to the merch site, it is second-city-gridiron-shop.fourthwall.com. If the merch is pretty cool, you can get individual ones. Oh, look at Danny just did it. If you're watching live on YouTube or watching later on the YouTube, that's the site you want to go to. We have really cool merch, like I said. I'm wearing one of the hats, our hat right now, Bare Bones. Every single podcast under the Second City Gridiron family has their own individual merch. And honestly, too, if there's things that you want, like, for example, I know that Bears Over Beers has a pint glass. If you're like, you know what, I want a Bare Bones pint glass, let me know in the comments. Let us know, or not even just have to obviously be Bare Bones, anything of that nature. You're like, I want to support this show with this kind of merch. We have some flexibility to be able to throw some other stuff up there. It's like, hey, winter's coming. I want a beanie, right? Or a hoodie or something. We can look into that for y'all. So go ahead, get some of the swag, get some of the merch. It really helps us out because it's going to give us the opportunity to do more cool stuff with you guys. Also doing some giveaways, doing live events, things of that nature. So go ahead, either scan the QR code if you're watching live. If you're listening to the podcast, probably easiest because the whole URL is crazy. You're not going to remember that. Go to the YouTube channel, scan the QR code, and get your merch.
The URL is crazy.
It's not easy. I remember I had trying to remember to tell someone at work because one of my patients wanted a shirt. And I was like, I can't remember here. Let me just text it to you. All right. What you need to know, just a couple of topics that we're going to go over for this game. Bears have allowed the second most rushing yards to a running back, which kind of goes against exactly what I was saying. But, hopefully I'm right about this. The Bears have also allowed the sixth most receptions to a running back. The Raiders have allowed the fourth most receptions to wide receivers, along with the third most reception yards to wide receivers. The Bears allowed third most targets and the most receptions to tight ends. Now, I think that's a little swayed with the Cowboys just dotting of Ferguson last week, but we'll let that slide. The Raiders have actually allowed the eighth most rushing yards to a quarterback, so maybe some Caleb runs, and the Raiders have allowed the 10th most passing yards to a quarterback. So Caleb can definitely keep adding to that quest for 4,000. All right, some questions for you, Danny, which I know you love these because you know exactly what's going on with every single question.
Oh, yeah, totally. He sends me the link for the PDF of the show, guys. I know what's coming immediately.
So, of the quarterbacks the Bears have played, so that's going to include J.J. McCarthy, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, and now we'll say Geno Smith. How would you rank those four quarterbacks?
Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, and J.J. McCarthy. Well, J.J.'s at the bottom because he might lose his job to Carson Wentz.
The middle gets interesting.
I've never hit it. I've always loved Geno dating back to West Virginia. And now him having the renaissance he's had the last 4 years or so.
Didn't you get a Geno jersey?
I have a Geno Seahawks jersey. He's one of my favorite players. I love Geno, but objectively, he's probably third if I'm all things being equal. I would love to clown Jared Goff, but at this point, the numbers, even some of the out of structure stuff where he wasn't great right now probably puts him above Dak at this point. Even if I love how Dak plays where he's probably the closest thing to the old school drop back and just deliver darts passer that we have in the league right now, where he throws passes that guys don't throw anymore. He's fearless. It's awesome. Yeah. It's the closest incarnation to like Peyton Manning, and I think I've said that on this show before, that we have in the league to this point in time. And it really is the last of a dying breed, it feels like, where he's doing things guys don't do anymore. He's standing and delivering, and some of them look like hospital balls, but some of them are more just he has the audacity to try things that guys don't do, and I appreciate that about him. So if you ask me who I enjoy watching more, him or Jared Goff, it's Dak 100%. But the effectiveness and the efficiency and everything like that, I think I'd be lying to myself if I didn't say Jared Goff was the best of that grouping right now. So in order, Goff, Dak, Geno, JJ.
I would order it the exact same way. I probably have a slightly bigger gap between Goff and Dak for reasons that maybe only matter to me in terms of playoff performance and some other layers there. And then more specifically on the Geno part, since we're talking Raiders, I know that there are certain individuals and certain podcasts that are very much in the love Geno camp. And I appreciate what Geno has done in terms of where he was, just seemed like he'd be out of the league with what was going on with the Jets. I mean, that was where quarterbacks go to die, apparently. But then, what he was able to become, and that is insanely impressive. And he is still, as I said earlier in the show, a professional starting NFL quarterback that will make tough throws and has had to just undergo some terrible teams, especially late Seahawks offensive line and now this Raiders offensive line.
Next question. Probably more in line with those shows that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And if anyone who listens to it, Mason's not really being cryptic here. If you listen to a certain show that's very popular, you know who he's talking about.
Yeah. Second question. Do you care about the Tom Brady narrative?
Not really. No. Should I?
I think it's one of those things where I don't heavily care, and I don't think it heavily matters. But I think you as the NFL could have made this not a topic, just in terms of who you're assigning to certain games and how that's looking. That's the only.
I mean,
you
they're not.
avoided this.
They didn't help themselves by showing him in the booth, like, obviously conversing and going over things. Like they didn't help themselves. But do I think it's a consequential topic? No, not really. Like, we knew this was going to come up though when you allowed the guy who is a $30 million a year announcer for Fox Football also have a minority stake in a fairly popular NFL team.
And then just how you set it up where he's calling the game the week before, where you have access to, players and coaches, and you're asking questions. And obviously it's up to the players and coaches to not just spill their guts about certain things. But it's just more of an optic thing to me, where it's like, you didn't have to order it this way. You didn't have to have it the week before, have him be the
right. You didn't have to have Ben Johnson sitting down with Tom Brady the week before the game. Which I guess he gave them all coach speak mumbo jumbo anyway, which I really wouldn't expect anything less. Coaches don't really NFL coaches, I've said it to they need more NBA coach in them where they just tell the truth, because they act like they have these state secrets and they don't. But NFL coaches don't really say much.
You mean those halftime conversations where it's like, hey, coach, as you're heading into the locker room, what are you going to tell these guys? That's not like gold.
No, it's actually not.
No, it's actually a waste of time. I can't believe they still do it.
No, neither can I. It's like everything just immediately sounds like Jimmy McGinty to me from The Replacements. Like, what does he need, coach? Heart. Miles and miles of heart. Like, just Jesus Christ. Can we get something out of you?
2 more questions here. We actually talked about him earlier. Grady Jarrett played 82% of the snaps in week 1, and this dropped to 59 and 58% in weeks 2 and 3. You have to imagine, obviously, this is mainly due to the knee injury. But let's say if/when he's healthier, whether it's this week, whether it's going forward, is this more where he should stay anyway? This may be in the high 50%. You have a guy like Shamar Turner was finally active with 31% in his first action, which I'd like to see more of him. I mean, it's not like he was great by any means, but I like his attitude, and at least it's a fresh set of legs.
I would like to keep him in the high 50s, low 60s, and keep him out of pitch count. He's only a little younger than me. Like he's played a lot of snaps in his career. He's an old football player. Wouldn't you rather keep him fresh for when you're probably playing more consequential games?
And I wonder if that was the plan the whole time, and because of Shamar Turner's injury, and he wasn't really up to speed, both conditioning and playbook wise, that they were like, all right, you got to play 82%, Grady, like week 1. And that wasn't really a part of their plan. So I really thought, like you were saying, that it would be a snap count from the get go.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could have played a part, or maybe Billings hasn't been that good to this point either.
No, they made him put on too much weight, I think.
Well, and he's always been like kind of a fire hydrant build. Like, he's not the typical Dennis Allen build that he looks for in his defensive lineman. And it looks like they made him get heavier, and he looks like he's stuck in mud half the time.
He is slower than he was last year. And I don't, some people are going to point to the pec and stuff, and it's like, I mean, sure, maybe it's harder to condition and all that jazz, but you just throw extra weight on a frame, and you're not automatically going to be able to move it around.
Some guys don't carry, like Billings is already heavy at his height, and he's got to be 15, 20 pounds heavier,
I would imagine. All right, last question here. According to friend of the podcast, Jake Fonte, go follow him if you aren't already. Cornerback Tyreek Stevenson in week 3 had this stat line: 2 catches allowed and 8 targets for a 25% completion, 9 receiving yards allowed, 2 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, a 39.6 passer rating against, 79.8 PFF grade, 95.3 run defense grade. What do you make of Tyreek Stevenson's improvements in week 3? Or is it just, they were playing the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb was out?
Similar to the way I feel about Caleb's performance about the Cowboys, palate cleansing. I think he needed a game like that to just feel like he could still play in this league, kind of thing.
And
You know,
do you
it's like-
think that'll carry forward? In your opinion, will that carry forward to this Raiders game?
I think so. Yeah, because he's the man right now. He is quarterback one at this moment.
Yeah.
And I think he's very much a guy. You saw it in his film at Miami. You saw it early on in his career, even up until the Hail Mary. He's got a bit of irrational confidence to him that it feels like it was stripped away. And
He's a swagger kind of player, yeah.
And I feel like when he's a guy that it's like the monkey coming off your back kind of thing, right? It's like, oh, thank God I finally had a good game. Now I can go be me again. I think that matters for him. Like in the same way I always like kind of compared Justin Fields when he was here to like a racehorse. Like Justin needed to get into a lather to start feeling himself and like get himself worked into the game. It feels like that's kind of what Tyree Stevenson needs sometimes, to feel like he's playing again in some fashion or regard. Like, and I think that he's been so down on himself and he's been so picked apart and scrutinized, and he was bad to start the first couple games this year. Like, he almost needed to just like get the monkey off his back and play well, and he finally did. And yes, it helps that CeeDee Lamb was gone. Yes, it helps that the Cowboys aren't all that good, even though they were a top 5 offensive DVOA coming into the game. Like it, but it doesn't change the fact that sometimes you just need to have some success in order for to feel like yourself again, or feel like you're playing well again.
Moving on, we have love it, hate it, rehabilitate it. This is a matchup or a specific dynamic that we love for the Bears, one we hate for the Bears, and one that if we were the coach, we'd focus on fixing this week. My love is the chance for this defensive line to stack pressures and even potentially sacks. Last game, the right tackle for the Raiders, DJ Glaze, gave up 2 sacks and 6 pressures against a very average Washington defensive front. I mean, the corpse of Von Miller had his way with him. Left guard Dylan Parham had a much better game in week 3, but has still given up a sack and 22 pressures in 3 games. Obviously, talent is king, but pressures and sacks tend to come in bunches. Get on a heater, and it can help you a bunch. Heck, the Raiders have to limit when Genty's even on the field, as his pass protection has been suspect. For example, with 1:26 left in the first half with the Raiders trailing 17-10, the camera showed Ashton Genty on the sideline, helmet's not even on. Instead, 2024 6th-round pick Dylan Lobb was in. Geno Smith took a snap, and Bobby Wagner immediately blew by for a sack. So right now, the Raiders don't even trust their star running back to be a pass blocker. And on top of what's going on on the offensive line, so it can be very telling which running backs in the game. What are you doing? Dylan Lobb's in there. It's probably more likely going to be a pass at that rate, and then that's not even taking into consideration everything I just said with the offensive line. So it's an opportunity for Montez Sweat, for the rest of this line, Dio, to get going again when he's not going against a backup left tackle. Hopefully, what's your love?
The passing game concepts and Caleb Williams against the Raiders secondary that has been largely just beat up on.
Yeah, it's been bad.
It's been real bad. And if last week was a palate cleanser, this could be the building on the palate cleanser, where you start to get a little bit confident and feel yourself a little bit in the passing game. Like, this is the kind of stuff where you need to start building to almost like get yourself to a level of this should be the norm. Now, obviously, 4 touchdowns, not an expectation. It's not a reasonable expectation, but 250 plus, a couple touchdowns. I feel like that's a normal, what should be considered almost normal for the 2025 NFL.
I know this is weird for Bears fans, but if you can have a top 10 offense and a middle of the road defense, that's modern football.
That is modern football for teams that want to have a shot at spinning the wheel in the playoffs. So I think that's a reasonable thing to say. Hey, go out there, torch these bums, and get the hell out. Like, I don't feel like that's me being out of line and thinking that way.
No, I don't think so. So that spurs a question in my mind. It's a little off topic, but okay. So what outcome of? No, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna put a pin in it. I'm saving that for later. Hates. What's your hate?
I know we kind of talked about it already. I do hate the Bears rushing attack or rushing defense against what Genty could potentially do if they're not able to generate the sort of pressure on the running game that they should. Where this could be theoretically like a Genty get right game, because they are, I believe, EPA down to down. They're the third or fourth worst run defense in football. Like the Ravens, for whatever reason, are like the absolute worst. But like the Bears, just down to down, are not a good run defense. And I feel like I just really hate, like, I get the running game and everything with Genty and the Raiders has been not good, but we can't sit here and say, oh, the Raiders secondary should be not the building game for off a get right game against the Cowboys, and not say the same thing for the running game of the Raiders, you know?
No, and that's a totally fair one. I mean, the only thing I'd throw at that is, in order to build, I mean, your offensive line all of a sudden would have to become competent, or that that's the thing too. The nepotism. So their offensive line coach for the Raiders is the son of Pete Carroll. It's like Brett or something. I can't remember his first name, but like, he's never been an offensive line coach before. And if you're Pete, and I get it, your kid's your kid, but like, this is your last chance in the NFL. The offensive line is the heartbeat of your team, and usually a good offensive line coach will elevate bad or average players. Why are you throwing it to your kid who's never done this before? I mean, like, you need to be one of those top 5. There's not a lot of those guys, if we're being honest, but like, the Callahans of the world, I'm blanking on his name, the offensive line coach with the Eagles. Those are the guys that you're trying to get to. And we both know a guy who basically says your offensive line coach has to be an old curmudgeon-y like dude who talks about World War II and everything like that. But there's kind of a truth to that in a way. Like, I just don't know like a 25-year-old like really good offensive line.
He has to look like Coach Pawpaw.
Yeah, that just doesn't happen. So I don't know. That just seems like a really bad nepotism hire, and it's screwing the Raiders over right now.
It could be. It also could just be an overall talent thing. Like,
and on tape, like, Jax Powers Johnson in college looks like he was at least solid. I mean, he definitely on tape looks like he should be the second best offensive lineman for the Raiders, but it just doesn't translate. And he's not playing well. Their center's not playing well. The right tackle looks like he's regressed. I mean, it's a whole thing. Hate for me. I almost went with Brock Bowers because I was worried that he would be like full health when I was putting this all together, and it seems like that's the case. Probably should have gone with it, but instead I went with Max Crosby versus a banged up Darnell Wright or Theo Bennett at this point, or still ramping up Braxton, depending on if he's going to move side to side. Yes, Braxton had a good week 3 with no pressures allowed. Only 6 tackles fell into that group last week. Per PFF, Braxton had an 86.2 pass blocking grade, which is the second highest in the NFL in week 3. But, if Wright's got a bum elbow, Braxton again still ramping up. Crosby's still a different cat. He only has 2 sacks and 11 pressures this year, likely due to his season-ending ankle injury he had in December 2024. He's still trying to get right, as we've used that term a lot in this podcast. But go back to 2023, not that long ago, he had 14 and a half sacks. Like, you don't need to give him the opportunity to start feeling himself.
Especially because he's one of those dudes that just doesn't come off the field.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, wasn't it in 2023? He played like 99% of snaps or something like that. Like,
I believe so.
Like, literally never came off the field. He's a psycho. Like,
he's a psycho energizer bunny.
Like, there's the level of like TJ Watt and Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons that live in their own kind of stratosphere of being an edge defender. I would say right under that is going to be your Max Crosby tier with him and the dude who's Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati. Like, those guys who are dudes. Like,
when you think about it, right? He was drafted what? I think it was in the 4th round out of Eastern Michigan.
Out of Eastern Michigan, yeah.
Like, you have to be a little crazy in order to work your way, not just to like a solid defensive end, but like a guy that was, again, had 14 and a half sacks. Like, that you're not right in the head. And so we don't need right on.
He ain't
Yeah.
right in the head, boy.
He's not. So I'm worried about that. My rehabilitate, just pump it out. I would love if they would take out McLeod at nickel and throw Blackwell in there. Nick McLeod is giving up 146.9 passer rating when targeted over the last 3 years.
Is that bad?
That's real bad. That's
Is
nearly
it?
perfect.
I
Nearly
didn't
a
know
perfect
that.
passer rating.
Damn
Over the
it.
last 3 years, Josh Blackwell has given up 100.5, 116.7, and 57.7 last year, actually, passer rating. I mean, he may not be good over the course of a whole game, but it has to be better than what McLeod's doing. And for whatever reason, the Cowboys really didn't seem like they got after McLeod enough. With I would have had Kevontae Turpin just trying to run around him, to be honest. But I again I just don't need to see McLeod anymore. Like, he was a late
Honestly,
add to this team. It's just I don't get it.
I get we're a Bears podcast, but the weird usage of not giving Turpin a lot of touches by the Cowboys when you have like effectively no juice on that offense
Yeah,
is really strange to me.
I don't get it.
Like,
He's a small dude, and if he seems gadgety, but with the right play caller, he should be a more dynamic and involved piece.
agreed. Anyway,
What is your rehabilitate?
I would like them to continue rehabbing the run game in the fashion that they have, because I just don't think you're going to see the truest form of the offense that Ben Johnson would like to see without the run game looking a very certain way. And every week that passes where we get a very underwhelming DeAndre Swift game, and then you get a game like David Montgomery had this past week, and it's like you chose to not pay him and actively let him walk away, only to pay an inferior player a similar deal.
Hey, it's funny. There's 2 guys on a pod who actively wanted Montgomery to stay.
This is true. This isn't a lie. It hurts,
Yeah,
and it's just like we do. We actively do. It's just, and I know this feels like we shit on DeAndre Swift all the time, and it's not meant to feel that way. But
yeah,
and he seems like a nice guy too. Like, that's the part that sucks about saying, like, be better, be less blind, be less Ray Charles back there. But
again, like, getting to watch that mic'd up, and I get mic'd up is very selective and all that, but like just hearing how he talked to his teammates and the little things, like him being in the backfield and saying, like, hurry up as the clock was getting down. It's just like those little things are like, oh, you're like a real good dude. And it's just like, but you don't run the ball good.
You don't do things that at your position that you should do well.
And it's just like, I'll use receivers as the example. Like, we've seen so many teams where if you just had your number 1 receiver be your number 2 receiver, right? Your number 2 receiver be your number 3, just because if you could insert someone above it and just bump everyone down a notch, you feel so much better about that player. Like, that player is your number 1. You're like, ugh, I don't love that. But that player is your number 2. You're like, all right, I can get behind that. It's the same thing with DeAndre, where with him as the number 1 getting that many carries, I'm just like,
And it's one of those things, like, for DeAndre, I've always enjoyed him as a player.
Yeah.
But until you experience him on a week-to-week, down-to-down basis,
it's different.
You don't understand the frustration of it.
Because you only see the highlights, right? You're not
Because you only see the highlights.
It.
And it wasn't until probably a quarter to a third of the way through last season where it's like he feels like it's not a slight at DeAndre Swift. Let me be clear here.
As we should on DeAndre Swift.
He feels like he should be much more in a Theo Riddick role, like the Lions used to have him in, where he was effectively a wide receiver, like where he should be a wide receiver coming out of the backfield.
Sure.
Versus being a guy carrying the ball up between the tackles at all. He's a wide receiver caught in a running back position.
Yeah. You see that when you see him in person too. Like when you see him, you're like, oh, yeah, you're built like a receiver.
Right. And it's not like if you told me, hey, Roschon Johnson became a very pedestrian, like 20th best between the tackles running back in the league, but DeAndre Swift is his spell back, that feels a lot better than what it is. But right now, you're making this guy be a down-to-down back, and he's really not meant for that, it feels like.
He had 17 carries against the Vikings, 12 against the Lions, 13 against the Cowboys. First of all, there's already clearly been an adjustment, right? You're dropping that by 4 or 5 carries. I would just feel better if it was more like even closer to 10. And I know we're nitpicking, like if it was like closer to 10. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. X factor for the Raiders. Mine is it's Brock Bowers. It just kind of has to be. If you're going to win this game, Brock Bowers has to have that kind of game where he's at, if not or near, or if not at 100 yards receiving and a touchdown, if not two. And if you can't get Brock Bowers going in that way, if Geno doesn't have that nuclear connection with him, they're not gonna win this game.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against that. Just to be different, because Brock was going to be mine.
Yeah,
I'll
say
just
Brock.
say,
We've talked for an hour. They got a lot of content. You don't need something special.
yeah, let's say Brock, because otherwise it would just default to Genty, just because he's Genty and is the highly picked running back.
X factor for the Bears. Why don't you go first so I don't steal yours?
X factor for the Bears. I would say let's go ahead and just throw Rome Odunze into this. The connection's been building. This should be another game where Caleb does very well. It seems like after weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and a whole season and all of training camp where it just felt like Rome and Caleb were not on the same page, it seems like they're finally on the same page. And that's massive for a guy who is such a high pick. Not just Caleb, but Rome, obviously, both top 10, the number 1 pick and the number 10 pick. Like, for them to have that chemistry, because they should be the foundational pieces and building blocks of this offense going forward. And I think that he could have another massive game this coming weekend.
Yeah, I mean, just between targets, yards, and touchdowns, I mean, Rome is up there in most of those categories for your wide receiver. And I mean, if the Bears can stack some wins and kind of be more in the national conversation, I think that will help the conversations around Rome start to be a little different, because he got left in the back burner last year when they were talking about the rookies from last year, right? I mean, people were, Marvin Harrison did not help himself. Malik Neighbors, there was a whole thing there, but the Lad McConkey's, the Brian Thomas Jr.'s, I mean, they just flew past him in the conversation. So
just because you mentioned it, has any player this young into their career just been totally over his offensive situation as fast as Malik Neighbors has been?
Oh, yeah.
He's just totally like, whatever, man. I'm done with this. This is nonsense.
And that was the certain concern coming out. I know there were some people pounding the table, like they wanted Neighbors to fall to the Bears, and I was just like, I get it. I see the explosion. It's awesome on the field, but I just always went back to Rome as like, this is like the dude, the complete dude, and like will fit well in the mentality that you need.
If Kyler weren't an Oompa Loompa playing quarterback, Marvin would get the ball more. But because he can't see over the middle, because he's an Oompa Loompa, somebody doesn't get the ball. Sorry.
Well, that's another whole thing. I mean, the Cardinals, they misused Marvin Harrison last year. They basically were trying to make him a legit X down the field guy, and that's just not his role. And then they did nothing on offense. Like, they needed Gabe Davis,
Marquez Valdez.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling, exact perfect version, just to like take the top off and let Marvin do stuff underneath. But anyway, this isn't like
be the sacrificial X.
It's crazy, and all you had to do was sign one person. But anyway, X factor for the Bears, mine's simple: stay ahead of the chains. That's a combination of the penalty stuff, and that's a combination of the run game. Right? You need 2nd and 6s. You can't be in 1st and 15s. Did you have one?
I just gave you it. Rome.
Oh, duh. I forgot to ask you first. Over unders.
Hooray! My favorite segment.
I thought the questions were your favorite segment.
Can they both be? Can I have 2 favorites?
No. See, okay, sidebar, you can't have multiple best friends. You have one best friend. Like, if you the term best is best. Like, this is the number one friend. Like, I can say that I really enjoy hot dogs. They're a food I really like. I like to deep dish pizzas, but my favorite food, my best food, it's one thing. It's burgers.
My favorite food is a burger with fries.
So good. But you can do multiple things with the burger if you want to, but you still need the base burger. All right. Caleb Williams touchdowns, 2.5.
Under. Slightly.
I almost made it 1.5, and I thought it'd be a little too easy to say over. Yeah, so I made
He's
it
going to
2.5.
throw push. He's going to throw 2.5 touchdowns. I don't know how yet. He's going to figure it out.
He's actually going to throw it, run down, catch it while Rome catches it, and they divide it.
They divide the touchdown. There you go.
Ashton Genty yards per carry 3.0.
Over.
There's a reason I picked that. I think that literally like that's his effect. Yeah, so he's
It's
averaging 3.3 currently. He's averaging 3.1 currently.
Okay, so is he going to get his average or higher?
Yeah. Penalties by the Bears offensive line 2.5.
I mean, until proven otherwise, they kind of gotta go higher.
Especially if maybe Theo Benedict's playing right tackle and it's his first time playing extended snaps. You might see whether it's him or Jonah Jackson, trying to help him out, have something of that nature. I would also take the over. And then lastly, Brock Bowers receptions 4.5.
Over. If he's playing and he's healthy, he's going to get spammed.
Yeah, if you're a Brock Bowers fantasy owner, and you were probably doing this anyway, but you absolutely obviously should be starting him, not worried about that whole injury shenanigans. All right, last category, Bear gut check. We use our gut feelings, revitalized by kombucha, of course, to give our game predictions against the line. Late afternoon slot again for the Bears, 2 weeks in a row. That doesn't happen all that often. Bears at Raiders. Raiders are favored by 1.5.
I think the Bears win. Cover.
I agree. I might be drinking the Kool-Aid, but this Raiders team is not very good.
We absolutely are. We're a Bears show, Mason. We can't help it.
But I'm sure I've said this at least 5 times before, but this feels different. It feels different when your offense can operate like a real modern offense, when your quarterback week to week has shown improvements in the passing game. Not just with, I'm just doing better overall. The passing game. When was the last time you could say that?
Yeah, the only thing I'll push back on is just how bad that Dallas defense is. It's okay to say
Raiders isn't good either.
Oh, sure. But
we're just talking about this week.
Right. I'm just saying on the overarching view of the team on offense, last week should not be a representation of what we should think of what should happen going forward.
I would also say the Lions game shouldn't be a representation just because of the emotional aspect from the Lions side and how bad the defense
But
played
I think
that
the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
I'm not expecting Caleb to replicate what happens this week and last week on a week.
Okay, what would you do if he threw 4 touchdowns? What's your wiener circle bet?
Be extremely happy for it.
No, you're supposed to say something I'll tattoo Caleb on my chest or whatever.
I'm not gonna. I love the Bears. I would never get anything Chicago sports related put on my body.
You said You said don't expect 4 touchdowns. I'm just trying to see how much you believe in that.
I'll wear my Bears shirt to the firehouse. Okay, how about that?
Cool.
I
would do that anyway. All right. So the question I was thinking about, I wanted to ask you earlier, but it fits better here. What outcome in this game would make you feel that the Bears are the better team and who could likely win coming out of the bye against the Commanders? So taking Jaden Daniels health stuff and all that out of it.
So it would actually probably be a similar vein of victory to that of the Cowboys. Where they're a similar way of winning, where I don't want it to be a shootout. If you're bending but don't breaking and they're doing the turnover thing, which again, I don't think it's really a game plan, and I never think it will be. But if you can have that kind of, we caused enough turnovers, we only let up 20 to 25 or 20 to 24 points. We scored a lot, but the defense did enough. Caleb did great. I think that's what you should be shooting for if you want to think that they should have a chance against the Commanders, which they should, because weirdly, and I know it's shocking, if you went and looked at quarterback performance of the second-year quarterbacks in order, it's been Caleb, Drake May, Jaden, Penix, and then J.J. McCarthy in terms of how they performed on an EPA or down-to-down basis. It's crazy how that happened.
Where's Bo Nix is above Penix, right? Or is he below Penix?
Penix was the 8th pick. Bo Nix was the last of the quarterbacks, but I think
Right.
he's still
But I'm
above.
saying, where do you rank? I don't know if you happen to know where he was kind of an EPA for this year.
I did not. I don't off the top of my head. Last I saw was leaving week 2, and he was 34 of 36. I want to say
good.
It was not good.
Yeah, I think already
like
right now, to answer my own question, I already feel decent about the Bears' chances against the Commanders. To what you said, I would agree. Like, it doesn't have to be like necessarily as crazy of a blowout as it was for the Cowboys. If it's like close-ish going into half, and then you pull away in end of the third, fourth quarter, and you win by 10. If you're winning 34 to, no, I don't like that. If you're, let's say like 28 to 14 ish, like that range, I would now feel like, okay, the Bears can beat the Commanders. That's where I would live.
Right. And I think if nothing else, that they need that feeling almost going into that game because of the whole offseason narrative being on total opposite ends of the spectrum for those teams and those quarterbacks.
100%. All right, pump through these ones. Tonight's game, Thursday Night Football, Seahawks favored against the Cardinals by 1.5.
I think the Seahawks win.
I do as well.
What? For as much, and I'll say it, I was going to say, for as much as we shit on Sam Darnold, Darnold's been good this year.
He has. I mean, and he just peppered JSN last week. I mean, he was just catch after catch.
I know it was easy. A lot of people were out on Mike McDonald going into this season. He's a good coach.
He's a good offensive coach. Or defensive coach, excuse me.
Defensive
and it seems
coach,
like he's just a good head coach in terms of.
I think he's probably one of those rare defensive coaches that if you want to hold a long-term job in this league, like Todd Bowles, I think he gets it.
Yeah, he might be able to pull that off. 8:30 a.m. in Dublin, Vikings at Steelers. Vikings favored by 2.5.
I don't like this game, but I'm gonna.
That's not fun.
I'll take the Steelers because I'm just a Tomlin guy.
I was tempted to take the Vikings and say just because Wentz has the red hair that he's got more luck in Dublin, but I'm gonna go with Steelers.
I just think Wentz is what he is. Like, the KOC be damned. Like, at a certain point, like, there's just certain
Vikings defense. What are the chances that Isaiah Rodgers has like one of the best defensive performances ever again?
Right, and that's it exactly. And Tomlin, what I feel like I should know this, but like the Tomlin record all time against rookie and or second string quarterbacks, it's like absurd, like how good he is against them.
Seeing if it would pop up if I would. I currently have against rookies, he's 25-5. I don't have like the backup.
I don't think people understand how absurd even just that number is against rookies. 25-5.
Okay. All right, we have the Washington football team at the Falcons. The Washington football team is favored by 1.5.
Washington. I mean, the statistic that came out last week after the loss where they got absolutely trounced by the Carolina Panthers, where Michael Penix has literally not won an NFL start in which they have scored
more than 7.
Like more than 7 points. That's alarming. Like, I get it, he's very few starts into his NFL career.
Yeah.
But that's an alarming, weird number. And it seems like, and I know there was an article written on it when he was at Washington, and the mechanics, the ball placement, the way Penix plays, where it's either literally deep ball or check down, there's nothing really in between or in the middle of the field. He plays a very specific brand of football that it doesn't seem like his receivers are on the same page with him with right now. And I think, dude, they might bench him. Like, I don't know how you keep playing this. You can't go scoreless against the Carolina Panthers.
If you're gonna try to do the Bryce Young route where you bench him to say, hey, we need you to just have more time, maybe they could do it. but it's just hard for NFL teams to put the genie back in the bottle.
Right, but I don't know. Dude, it's bad right now.
Oh no, and the offense doesn't make any sense. Like all the pistol they're using is just not good football. It doesn't let Bijan do Bijan things. The way, like you said, he's so limited on what he throws well. Like he throws a really, really nice out. Like the out routes that he could throw, beautiful. The deep ball looks cool. Everything else, I mean, there's this graphic floating around. I think Ted Nguyen put it up. He doesn't throw to the middle of the field at all. And he's not athletic enough to move around and buy more time. And I think what was the comparison you said? It was like the throwing chart of Justin Fields, but the athleticism of
I forget exactly how I phrased it, but yeah, it was something like that.
It was not good. So yeah, to your point, I don't know how this is going to be tenable for the Falcons. I don't know how you put the genie back in the bottle, as I put it, but you do have Kirk Cousins sitting there. I mean, you could have worse backups.
Right, and you paid him $100 million. So
your company, I don't know company what line might just be, hey, we need the Bryce Young thing. Just we go sit and learn, my dude.
Tell the 25-year-old second-year player he's got to sit and learn.
Browns at Lions. Lions are obviously favored by 10 points. Can the Browns pull off another crazy win like they did last week against Packers?
I think the Browns cover just because the defense is still good. Jim Schwartz is still a really good defensive coordinator.
Flacco's solid quarterback. Quinton Judkins is a shot in the arm for them.
Yeah, and 10.5 is just a big fucking number.
It's massive. Also, just like we are the two people sitting on here who wanted David Montgomery, we're also two people who had Quinton Judkins ranked relatively highly compared to certain other running backs, Travion Henderson, who can't pass block and has not running the ball well.
When everyone said his biggest calling card was that his easiest transition to the NFL, other than being fast, was that he could pass block. And I'm on record on several podcasts saying pass blocking doesn't translate that like that, guys.
It's not the same. Different people, different players, different teams.
Also, Myles Garrett's a superhero. So
that picture of him in high school floated back up again recently, and it's just like, how was he not tested every week to make sure he wasn't already a 26-year-old man?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's awesome.
All right, last one, then we're getting out of here. Sunday Night Football, Packers at Cowboys. Packers favored by 7.
Packers cover.
It should. I mean, it should be, again, like a bounce back. Like you said, it's a palate cleanser now for the Packers. It seems like the Cowboys might have both Deron Bland as well as Diggs playing in that game, but still, even with those guys, that
I gotta ask, in your professional opinion, as a person who's is Diggs cooked? He doesn't look like he's moving right, man.
He's not. No, I mean, if I was doing film analysis on him, like in terms of his movement patterns and everything, I'd be like, we have to retool how he moves because he's slow. He can't play. The whole calling card is aggressive, jam you at the line, and then take chances on balls that probably shouldn't. And he can't close on it in that way.
And he got big brothered by Rome on that bump and run. He went to engage, and Rome just pushed him off. Like, nah, fam, that's fine. Thanks for playing, though.
It's one of those ones where it's like, unfortunately, just with how the NFL is, like he's not gonna like not be playing right now. But you almost have to do like a check-in next year and be like, all right, now where are you at after you've had a year and another off season of rehab work and performance work?
Like, how you feeling?
He's not moving the same.
No, he looks slow.
All right, that's all we got. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'd also appreciate it more if you went and got some swag, represent the Bears out and about. Give us a like if you're on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening or watching on Twitter, go over there. If you could give us a like, leave a comment. It could be just like, thanks or good job. Hopefully nothing too mean. But like that also helps the algorithm. It helps us show up in other Bears fans' feeds. So hopefully we can continue to grow the Second City Gridiron family. Any parting words, Danny?
Not really. Other than I believe today is National Daughters Day. So shout out to all the parents out there who have a little girl at home. It's my second one, obviously, with my little lady.
Fantastic.
So shout out to all the girl dads and the moms out there. maybe watch some Disney with your daughter tonight or something. I don't know. But let's enjoy some football, and hopefully the Bears continue.
And last thing, no podcast next week. Bye week. We're just gonna chill. But we'll be back for the Commanders preview. All right, bear down, everybody.